There's been two eras in the 10,000-year fake history where the Tullys were a fun house to keep your eyes on. The Game of Thrones era, of course, mainly because of the Blackfish, Brendan Tully, but House of the Dragons era is also a great time for Tully lore. That's thanks to Martin giving the main members a ridiculous naming convention. Lord Grover Tully, his heir Elmo, and great-grandsons named Kermit and Oscar, straight out of Sesame Street. George R. Martin is usually a fairly serious author of fiction, so this little moment is as memorable as it is random. Daemon Targaryen reminds viewers in the first season's finale how vital the Riverlands are.
I'm going to treat with him myself.
Here's the position in the Seven Kingdoms map, dead center of it all. The location is important in times of war, but it plagues all the common folk, at times even the Highborns. The Riverlands lack a natural defense to stop would-be invaders. The Stormlands and Ironborn made quick work of the Riverlands during their conquest attempts in the past, before the Targaryens came around. And ever since the Targaryens made the Seven Kingdoms theirs, the Tullys became their close ally. It was Aegon the Conqueror that elevated House Tully to Great House status, giving them power over all the Riverlands and all the lords here. It was very difficult to get close to King Aegon the Conqueror, and yet the first Tully to ever be named Lord Paramount of the Trident quickly became Aegon's right-hand man. Lord Edmund Tully was the second hand of the king ever. He only may have served 2 or 3 years, but that was because his wife died due to childbirth complications and decided that his children had more need of him than the realm, and begged leave to return to the Riverlands. An honorable end to this forgettable character. Another Tully served old King Jaehaerys' small council, but the Tullys are no one's favorite house, and are even overshadowed by the families that are supposed to be under them. They're just your average family that was lucky enough to be risen to great house status. Unlike some of the other great houses that control the surrounding kingdoms, no single family has held power here in the Riverlands for thousands of years without contention. There's always wars and crowns switching around. But for 130 years, the Tullys, loyal Targaryen friends, have held this title of Lord Paramount of the Trident, ruling over an entire kingdom. The Tullys' greatest power was choosing the winning side anytime war came knocking. The lords under them had larger armies and more gold, but the Tullys were just one step ahead of everyone else, and their bannermen are okay with them for their good decision-making skills. They ditched the King of the Isles and Rivers for Aegon's cause, fought for Jaehaerys over King Maegor the Cruel, and even voted for King Viserys during the Great Council, each time earning Targaryen points. But those weren't terribly hard decisions compared to what's going down in House of the Dragon with Rhaenyra's Blacks going up against Aegon II's Greens. 2 Targaryens with good arguments backing their cause. Princess Rhaenyra being named Viserys' heir while he was alive, breaking all normal royal conventions. Aegon, born after Viserys, made all his subjects swear to follow and protect her ascension to the throne. The Tullys voted for King Viserys 30 years back, over the female line, and the same lord that voted is still in power. Daemon is on his way to visit the old Lord Grover Tully. We don't know Grover's exact age, but he was old during the Great Council of 101 AC. It's 129 AC now for reference. Daemon is on his way to see a bedridden man on his way out of this world. Actually very similar to Lord Hoster Tully in Game of Thrones. Lord Grover has outlived his son or sons, and his grandson Elmo Tully is the heir running Riverrun. There's some drama going on within the castle walls of Riverrun, unbeknownst to Rhaenyra and Aegon. I'm cool with going over this, cause I know there's no chance in hell House of the Dragon's writers are gonna fit this in after they announced Season 2 will only be 8 episodes this time around, and we saw how much was rushed over in the first season having 10 episodes. When ravens flew across the 7 kingdoms declaring King Viserys' death, Lord Grover Tully's instincts and old ways make him proclaim the Riverlands will fight for the Greens, the male heir to the Iron Throne, just like how he voted for Viserys over the female line. It was a simple matter. No woman would rule over him, despite likely being in that throne room when Viserys made all the lords bend the knee to her. But in the Black Council scene with Daemon and Rhaenyra, we hear the Riverlands are still up for grabs, believing them to be the most neutral house, when others seem to have their preferences and prior loyalties.
Riverrun was always a close friend to your father, Your Grace. With Prince Daemon's acquiescence, I have already sent ravens to Lord Grover.
Lord Grover is fickle and easily swayed. He will need to be convinced of the strength of our position.
The Riverlands are essential, Your Grace.
Lord Glover's wishes never leave the castle's walls. His grandson and heir make sure that the bedridden senior citizen would not be making these serious decisions anymore. It'll be Elmo that decides the fate of House Tully. But whatever side he does end up aligning with, it may not mean all the Tully bannermen will follow. The situation in the Riverlands is nothing like what we see in the north or other kingdoms, where bannermen love their liege lord. There's also deep-rooted rivalries and tension amongst the river lords. The powerful Blackwoods and Brackens have been at each other's throats for millennia, mostly over land disputes. And special attention was made for that camera angle to show blood being drawn in that wild House of the Dragon scene where two nobles fought during their offers to marry Rhaenyra. This moment will definitely play into Season 2, where the Riverlands come into play. There's also House Frey, a family that the more ancient families look down upon. Despite the Freys being up there with the most powerful families in this kingdom, they're written to be Weasley, and most snobby lords consider them to be upstarts that have no place amongst them. They gained immense wealth after setting up a strategic bridge where they charge a toll just to cross it. A bridge that connects the Riverlands to the north, huge for trade. Catelyn in Game of Thrones is a Tully and still treads carefully with the fickle lord Walder Frey and his family. There's a few other powerful houses in the Riverlands during the Targaryen Civil War, like the Malisers and Vances, but I don't think they'll make much of an appearance in House of the Dragon, though this is their time to rise above, an opportunity some of the ambitious families may take. The focus will be on the Sesame Street Tullys, with some more Blackwood vs. Bracken drama, with a mini family feud within Riverrun taking place. Old Man Grover's wishes versus his grandson's Elmo. Without hesitation, while the Black Council is taking place, Lord Grover orders the knights and men-at-arms of his castle to go out and support the Greens. Author George R. R. Martin has been oddly quiet on his out-of-place naming decision, but we have the next best thing from co-authors that help write some of the lore books. Elio and Linda, who run Westeros.org, came out to say, "Yep, not sure why exactly, other than it amused him, but the colors of the three Muppets have been noted: red, green, blue." Okay, so the Riverlands are known for their massive iconic river called the Trident. That's why the ruler is called the Lord Paramount of the Trident. Every kingdom has its own theme going on. The Trident has 3 forks, that's why it's called the Trident. One part of the river is more red because of all the red clay underneath, the other forks of the river having more green and blue water. Martin also made sure to name the great-grandsons Kermit and Oscar, both green puppets. A double meaning going on here. Teenage Kermit and Oscar are what are commonly referred to as green fighters. Boys who have only known a training yard are called green. New to war, prideful, foolish, naive. Kermit and his brother Oscar are hungry to prove themselves, but also making a name for the Tullys on the battlefield. No reason to say any more than that, I guess. The remaining seasons of House of the Dragon are supposed to be even more serious than the first. We'll see how much of this ridiculous writing makes it to screen. There should always be a little time for fun. This is entertainment, right?